So this is my first time chairing this group, so be gentle. Okay, if you're ready to call the roll, Ms. Smith?
Dr. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Lindsay?
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan? Mr. Driver?
Absent.
Mr. Masters?
Absent.
Ms. Ward?
Present.
Mr. Linderman?
Here.
Okay, we would like to welcome our new member, Mr. Linderman, to the Planning and Zoning
Thank you.
group. We're glad to have all the help we can get. So thank you for being here. Okay, the minutes from the October 4th meeting. Anybody have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Look for a motion to approve the minutes for October 4th.
I'll second.
Okay. All those that say yay? Yay?
Yay.
Okay, we're good. All right. So, we'll now open the public meeting. Again, since we do have some new people here, I'll just briefly say what we do is we first have a public meeting where we invite members of the public to comment on what's on the agenda and what the request is. Then, after that public meeting, we will close the public meeting and the board itself will have our own meeting to say yes or no to the request. Okay, so we have people here or not on this first? It's a replat. It's on 40th Street, and this is Mr. Lindsay.
Yes, that's me.
And that's you.
Yes.
Would you like to speak to the group?
Just to say that I concur and approve with this request.
We also have staff here.
I don't know, do you need me to go over the background on it? Is it sufficiently self-explanatory?
Well, yeah, it is pretty explanatory. I will add that you have been here before, and you have tried to comply with what requests we've made
Yes.
of you.
Yes.
And so you're back again with something that is more in keeping
Yes.
with what we
Yes.
have learned over the past year.
And I thank you for all your guidance.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And
Okay.
we do have Gina Johnson if you had any explanation.
Gina, you want to jump in here and tell anything about this?
I mean, I can answer any questions that you have. It was one piece of property. There were 4 units on it. It's coming to get a replat to go to 3 separate parcels. So there'll be 3 units, so reduction in density.
And he will meet all the setback requirements with given 3 parcels.
Correct. He is in
Okay.
the town home district now, so the side
Okay.
setbacks are 0.
That was my
Okay.
question, had he been changed to?
He has, yeah.
Okay.
Last month, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so and you know, you can see the description down here. Does anyone else want to say anything? Any
I'm
comments?
the adjoining property, and I agree, I support this.
Thank you, we appreciate that. Good. Okay, anyone else? Okay, if there's no one else to comment and no public comments, then we'll close the public meeting and open our own meeting for the board. Anybody on the board have comments?
So these are going to be individual homes, that you're not going to be, this is not going to be a townhome, correct?
Yes. The way that it's replatted, they could be adjoining townhomes, but once the parcels are separated out, then it becomes to the individual parcel owners to decide how big the build footprint is. The survey drawing was notional. They could come all the way up and be totally joining, but I believe we have the flexibility to consider these as 0 lot lines.
That's correct.
And it's immediate family, I read.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
if there's 0 lot line, does that require that there be a firewall in between?
Yes.
Okay.
And we figured all of that would get sorted out in the build plan approval, not in replat.
Okay, so this, at this point, we're just requesting a replat.
Yes. Mario said this was going to be a long process.
Well, he spoke the truth.
I just have one question, and it's really for the group. So the 20-foot setback, that allows enough parking for that number of dwellings? Is it that street side, or will it be included underneath the building because of the location?
The 20-foot setback is what's mandatory within any residential district, I think. And
But the parking, is that sufficient for the parking? Does that meet the requirements for parking spots?
Two parking spaces are required, so,
That's the setback being shown from this zoning district. It's not necessarily from the plan. Might lay out differently.
So we don't really know what the building is going to look like, but there is, as long as they have a replat that shows they're not in the setback, then
so 21 feet is the smallest of the 3 lots, and 21 feet is enough to accommodate 2 large units.
Okay. Just want to make sure that falls within the requirements.
Well, thank you for that. And also we are expecting to be building Long Island, even though it's sort of a softened up requirement now. I understand.
soften, but it's always a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
We live in Florida. Okay, any other comments or questions? Anyone?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay, I need a motion.
I will motion that we accept the replating, we say yes to the replating of 110 South 40th Street.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. If you're ready, we can call roll.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Miss Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. Again, still a good idea to go to the council meeting.
Week from tomorrow,
Week from tomorrow, okay?
9 in the morning.
There you go.
He's ready.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
guys.
okay, the next thing on our agenda is this change in ordinance. What is it 755 or is it?
The ordinance is 776. We have
Okay.
Nick's the city attorney. He could kind of give you a little background on where we got to,
Oh, I see.
on how we got to today, and then you could ask any questions related to the ordinance that we're going to be submitting to the council following this meeting.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do so. The background is there were 3 or 4 council meetings where there was a lot of conversation about, it's usually posts, we're just calling obstructions in the right of way. It might have been a rope or rocks or something, but usually posts. And it initiated with a request where it sounded like the city staff may have suggested something was allowed, it got built, and then after the fact, it was determined that wasn't what we expected, and that's potentially not a good situation for the right of way. And that kind of opened a can of worms to a broader conversation. So after a few different meetings of discussion, the council ended up in September, I think it was September 24th, adopted a resolution on the same subject, looks similar to this ordinance. And so in that resolution is 3-2 passage. The general rule was that if something had been placed in the right of way, talking posts, fences, things like that, prior to the date of that resolution, that it would be allowed to stay until such time that the city or utility provider needed to do something in that area of the right of way, utilities, sidewalks, ditches, something like that. As opposed opposed to just having the city go through an effort to clear everything out. The reason why this is coming to you is that the rules about the use of the right-of-way are in the land development code. And the current rule basically says temporary uses may be approved by the city council, or by the city, I'm not sure, it may be the council, maybe some city administrator. But this would deviate from that rule that the resolution already did. So the idea is to follow up with an ordinance to get the rules consistent, so we don't have the land development code discussing one rule and then a resolution basically waiving the rule or modifying the rule. This ordinance has more protections for the city in it than the resolution did, but it's generally a similar rule. And just also briefly, I included a memo in here that addresses the question of liability, because there were a lot of concerns about, well, what happens if there's an accident, something that the city may have been able to remove but did not remove, and is there liability? And briefly, in general, there can be, there won't always be. There'll be liability sometimes, not every time. It'll depend on what that thing is they got left in the right of way, how big is it, how reasonable was it for it to be there, how hard was it to see, just a variety of factors. But we have confirmed that the city can have liability for something like that if it's something that is not reasonable for the location. So that doesn't necessarily mean you can't adopt a rule like this. We had similar conversations at the city council level, but it's certainly a risk factor to think about as you're thinking about what's good about this rule. Also think about that negative aspect, and I think that even if you didn't have a lot of actual liability, the city would probably still get drawn into most car accident lawsuits, most lawsuits that come up that might involve some construction. And I think citywide, how many of these were we talking about grandfathering?
Just like less than 10 or something. There was like 40-something letters that we sent out, but they weren't, the major ones were probably 10.
Okay, so maybe 40 or so getting, we'll say grandfathered in, but only 10 or so of those are big obvious items.
Things that really didn't meet the requirement of temporary. Temporary to me wasn't really defined, as he said earlier, in the original code. Temporary to me is something you can move by one person within a day, if something's coming through. But some of these things were not. So we did address just a little bit further on what he said. We addressed it with our liability carrier, our insurance carrier. They gave us a middle of the road answer, which I expected, that said that they'll deal with it on a case-by-case basis should it come up, if it ever comes up. So therefore, we've added some language inside of this that allows us for an out should we need it. Maybe something is a repeat offender of an incident or something. The city wants to go back and say that has to be removed because we've had multiple accidents or near misses or something. So Nick was able to draft some of those items in there into this that we'll take back to the council, which protects the city, and that's what we wanted to do as the city to always protect us.
Okay. I have a question. Of the 10 that you say might be a problem, can you give us a little better idea of the nature of these structures? I mean, are we talking fences or?
Some of them are large trash containers that people put their trash bins in that are constructed of wood. There's some that are posts in the ground that are concreted into the earth. There's the biggest problem. The reason that those right-of-ways are there is that if a big truck's coming at you real fast, you've got somewhere to bail out of your golf cart or with your child or something of that nature, right? Just you in general. So that's why those right-of-ways are there. And if you put things in those right-of-ways, which are the city property, you're cutting back on that opportunity to bail out of the way should something happen. So there was less than 10 that were major, if the roads are already too tight, but those are the things, that's the way the council wanted to go, just kind of going forward. We wouldn't allow any new ones to come in, and we documented the ones that are on file so that we could follow up with those. And he's added in where they have a hold harmless, correct?
Right, so the property owner would be required to sign an agreement with the city saying that we're not going to blame the city if there's a problem, and to the extent that they can, they're going to cover the city's losses if the city gets in a liability scenario. It's also important to remember that this only applies to city roads, roads that are under the city's jurisdiction, not county roads, not state road. US 98 is a state road. That's your high-speed, high-traffic road. It wouldn't apply to that road because there's only so much the city can do on a state road. So this is neighborhood streets primarily.
What about 15th Street? What is this?
That's a city road. That's 368. That's a city road. You know, we're actually working, just since you brought it up, we're working on a way to get foot traffic off of that bridge. So we're working with the county for, I believe, Dina was helping me with some of the amount of link that we have. We need sidewalks on that road, and we're actually working on submitting that for a DOT project in conjunction with the county. So it's the planning council, excuse me, I got the mix up there. So we're working with the planning council. I had the chair of the county commission here the week before last to kind of see the traffic going by, and it's important to me.
Yeah, I gotta say, the most important thing that I ever hear is we need sidewalks on 15th Street so that people can get down to the beach.
Sure, they're coming back late at night dragging a cart, and, you know, kudos to the deputies in the sheriff's department. You know, the other morning I had to be in Panama City early, and they were escorting the bus, and I'm still new to town, and they do that morning and afternoon, so
Yeah.
that's a great benefit to the residents that live along that road, because and people want to pass on the buses all the time, whether they're supposed to or not. So.
Right.
Well, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So what do most cities do as far as right-of-ways?
I'd say that most cities ignore the small stuff and don't allow the big stuff.
Okay.
Is kind of what I say.
So the reason for a right-of-way for the city is for public utilities and stuff. So if people are burying stuff or putting it under concrete, such as driveways, do the driveways count as being, because
Pavers and stuff, you mean,
yeah,
or something?
pavers or even concrete driveways.
We try to help them fix that back.
15 or 20.
If we had to tear one out to put in a pipe or something, we try to save the bricks, you know, and they're responsible for putting it back. The homeowner is. That's part of our property, but they're making it look better, so we try to do our part and not tear up the bricks or things of that nature. And I've actually had the paving company that was along Miramar come back and fixing a couple of the neighbors' pavers because they got too close with the asphalt. So yes,
I really think that my biggest thing when I was walking around and looking at this, looking at right of ways as I'm walking around, is, you know, if you allow for one, then what's going to happen when somebody else does it? If you the grandfathering in thing changes because when I first bought my property, we were quote unquote grandfathered in that the two pieces of property had been put together for tax purposes, and I wanted to buy one of them. And because it was grandfathered in, they ended up letting us do it. I mean, it was a process, but we were able to split those two pieces of property, and I bought one of them. But at first they were nice, and they was like, well, you know, this is a new board, and you know, that was before, and you know, we're not looking at that grandfather. But I was able to prove that it was grandfathered in, so I was able to from the previous. But like I said, that my big thing with this grandfathering in things is, well, he's got it, she's got it. What can I?
So we drew a line in the sand. I think it's September 12th, where we're going to have pictures presented by the people that actually have it, and anybody else that tries to put something in that is going to go through the building department. The building department would deny it. And, is there anything else that's
September 12th.
It was September 24th. We used that date because that was the date of the resolution that kind of established that cutoff line. We want to continue with that the same date because various folks have already, in their mind, they've already been grandfathered, so we were going to maintain that date. As far as the problems that always arise, well, how do you determine if something was grandfathered or not? It's just hard to know. This version of the rule will be a lot simpler with that since it does require these homeowner identification agreements. So there'll be a certain number of those on file at the city sometime soon. And if people don't sign those, then they don't qualify for those.
Okay, so other than the 10 people,
No, there's about 40 something.
47 that are grandfathered in.
They would meet that requirement. They were set up prior to, so that whether they're just little poles that are with ropes on them, or they're garden gnomes or whatever, but they're in the city's right of way. There was like 40-something letters that we sent out prior to my start.
Yeah, the original push was that staff was going to, if people didn't remove the stuff themselves, staff was going to pursue removal, and then the conversation evolved a lot further during council meetings and go a different direction.
Okay, two of these properties I'm very well familiar with because they're right around me. So, the one in question that really got this started, it seems that they're trying to protect what they feel like is their property when it's actually right away. This is what I see from my own, when walking around in my neighborhood and things like that. So, I mean, they have to know that it was right away when they put those items in there. And
You'd be surprised, yes, ma'am.
yeah, I mean, so if they are made aware that if we say the city needs to go in there and do something and take them up,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
cut them down, whatever, that they are going to be responsible for replacing them.
Yes, ma'am.
That even though they get left now, if 5 years from now the city needs to do something with that strip up in their front of their house, they're just got to look.
If the sidewalk's coming through, they're going to either remove it or we're going to remove it for them. We're not going to put it back.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
we'll actually clear it can't be put back, because the idea is, these things aren't supposed to be there, so once there's a reason to remove it, that they don't go back.
If the sidewalk comes through that way,
Right.
then they're not coming back with that item.
And sidewalks may not be proposed at this moment,
Sure,
but
yeah.
5 years from now, or whatever they could be, which would
Sewer
be
or something like that,
awesome.
you never know.
But we'll go there another time.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. I just want to make sure I'm,
So,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay, if sidewalk comes through, they can't put it back. If utility work is done, they're not supposed to be able to put it back, correct?
Correct.
That's the way it's written. Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Okay? All right, let me add something to what Michelle said, and I said this at the last council meeting where it was discussed. City councils in the past have talked about 3 reasons that we have the city right of way. One is for utility line placement. Our city water, city sewer, St. Joe gas ties in there, some fiber optics tie in there. Second reason is that it has always been, although not well maintained, part of the city's stormwater drainage problem. It was part of it when all of those were open ditches. Many of you weren't here then, but almost every right of way used to be an open ditch. They have been covered over and not corrected to work properly, and sooner or later, when we deal with stormwater, those right-of-ways have to be brought into compliance with drainage issues. The third reason we have them is for public access, for public walking, and for public parking. The city councils, whoever they have been over the years, have said repeatedly, because our streets are so tiny, we have no place to park except in the public right-of-way. And it's always been where the public park. So, if these people confiscate the city right-of-way and make it part of their front yard, you've taken away the public's right to park where the city has provided parking. That is an issue. For instance, at Parker Park, where we have those huge crowds when we get back to it, you all know what I'm talking about. People park up and down Highway 98. That's never been a problem. But when that parking is filled up, they go down the side streets, correct? And they park on both sides on the little right-of-way to come to the park. For instance, there is a block that has now had a person on one side fill in with big timbers, rope, and no trespassing sign on the right-of-way. And it runs, his property runs 100 feet. So you can park 6 cars in 100 feet. The person on the other side has now put his landscaping out and blocked that. person 2 houses down has blocked part of his. There is no place to park. It's a dead end. There's no place to park. There's no place for the big trucks to turn around. It impedes traffic because of the way that these obstructions have been placed in the right-of-way. So if you impede traffic, then I see no reason for it to be there. And I don't understand the issue. This is not private property. This is city-owned property. So how do these people get to block city right-of-way when it doesn't belong to them? The city itself, the city councils over the years has not enforced it. So that is an issue. And people come, as was pointed out in one of the meetings, people come and say to the building department, can I put this in my yard? That's the wrong question. It's not their yard. So there are several layers here, but the issue comes down to who gets to use the city right-of-way for the purposes it was intended.
If I could add to that just for a second.
Go ahead.
We did address that, and you'll notice in there, if anything's like becomes a nuisance or dangerous, law enforcement or having issues, the city manager or city council has the right to remove that. And so we've added that in there, so if it does become a public nuisance or it does become an accident-prone area, we can move that forward. So that's been addressed.
Well, in my mind, if something's planted, put into the ground, it becomes a permanent fixture. A tree, statue, whatever, a post, a fence, it becomes a permanent structure. And to them, that is their yard. They're maintaining it, they're whatever. They're trimming their trees or whatever. It's not public property. I mean, it's not private property. They should not be allowed to put anything into that ground. Plus, they could get pipes and whatever. And then, I think we're setting ourselves up for issues. I think we need, the city right away is for a purpose. It needs to be for that purpose.
I believe you guys have that.
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions for clarification. So my assumption is the reason this is even coming up as a problem is people are parking in front of other houses to access parks and beaches. They consider part of their property, their front area that they're maintaining.
That could be one of the reasons, yeah. Or the water was really deep on there and somebody drove through it to get around a car on the street to miss hitting another car and they tore up their grass.
So
There's a multiple
Who
reasons.
maintains the right of ways? Is it the city maintaining?
Yeah, the city.
For the most part, some people do take a better job at maintaining their right of ways than
Okay.
others. But yes.
And then, so this is my concern, having listed all this bills and looked at the ordinance proposal. So if you allow anything to be grandfathered, I understand the city might be protected given the change in the ordinance and requiring the homeowner to apartments. But just for public safety, what prevents somebody from still running into this, especially at nighttime, if they're not marked somehow? There's nothing in here to require them to put reflectors or anything like that on these things.
That's what I'm hoping. I wasn't here when this started, and the council kind of took the ball and ran with it. That's how we got to the resolution that came in. Generally, they would bring that back to staff, and we would work with the owner to get that done. Maybe they need reflectors on both sides of the pole, or maybe they back it up a foot, and that gets it out of the city right away. Or maybe there's an alternative that post is not concreted in, and maybe it has a piece of rebar into the ground to keep it from falling over. So there's things like that we're going to continue to work with homeowners on. But we try to address some of those as much as possible in this moment.
So then also, there may be some limits on what the city can have somebody do to change what was grandfathered in, but that's a very insightful point because a lot of the lawsuits about this, what they come down to is there's a condition that's dangerous and maybe the city could have avoided liability but adequately warned of the situation. So any that are particularly risky, that the city completely was within its rights and should place some additional signs to warn of something coming up. That will help prevent accidents and help to avoid liability.
I assume that you said there were 10
Roughly, yes, ma'am.
large, and I assume the city's going to pursue those 10 to try and maybe resolve some of these types of issues, or not.
In a way where, like Nick was just saying about the reflectors or a sign that says obstruction ahead, we're going to try to mitigate the city's responsibility and warn the people that are driving. That's all that's going to be left in my hands to do, short of it having 2 or 3 accidents and now it's become a nuisance and we decide to remove it. Or a sidewalk goes in, or something of that nature.
Okay.
So is the grandfathering, that's a done deal, that's been decided by the council? No.
There was a resolution that established grandfathering that looks a lot like what's in this ordinance. At the time, I told the council members that were in favor that you really shouldn't try to change a rule by resolution that's already set in the land development code. And so what the thought was that they had at the time, one particular, well, let's try this resolution, see if it goes anywhere, and we'll follow up with the ordinance. So I'm not quite sure how this will go if the ordinance does not pass. We still have the resolution on the books. But the thought process is that the ordinance is a better version to replace the resolution that's already passed.
In all in the past, they did was kind of turn a blind eye to these things until they just didn't.
Well, that's what I'm afraid is going to happen if you start grandfathering people in. Who is like everything else in our city? I'm sorry. Who's going to?
We have one code officer. That was my main complaint at the
Exactly.
council meeting. There's one person to track it.
Who's going to do that? And then maybe that person retires, and then there's another person they know nothing about. If we're setting ourselves up for, I don't agree. I think we have rules for a reason, or resolutions, or ordinances for a reason. This ordinance was to have our public right-of-way, or our city right-of-ways. They should remain city right-of-ways. Now, if you want to turn your nose up and forget a gnome sitting there, that's a big difference than sitting on a concrete post in city property. Or other people coming and digging, and we hit a gas line when we were digging. We don't have a right-of-way on our street.
Well, I think that everything that would be grandfathered is already installed. I don't think there were problems hitting utility lines. So it's the liability, accidents, and obstruction of parking. Those are the issues that really.
Okay, let's see if we can round this out a little bit, because I don't think we have a lot of options as the planning and zoning group if city council insists on this ordinance. So has there been a first and second readings, or are we looking at the second reading, or?
There has been not even a first reading yet.
Okay,
The only
not even-
indication we have is
Okay.
the resolution that looked kind of like this, had a lot of debate, and eventually passed 3-2.
And then this will go to the next council meeting for this first reading of the ordinance.
Okay, so the public will have a chance to comment on this before it gets.
Multiple times, just.
Yeah, okay, and so, as I see it, the only thing we can do at this point is to maybe offer what people have said here, if we wish to say to the council, we really believe you should rethink this, or something along those lines. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Or if you think that the additions make it a little more watered down, or if they should give it back to the city manager to deal with it like they should have done in the first place. You have a couple options. You should really do.
Yeah,
Okay.
your main options are recommend denial, recommend approval, or recommend approval but with some change.
Okay, so, as a group, does anybody have anything they want to?
I think the right of way needs to stay the right of way.
I agree.
And I totally agree with Michelle on this. And we have a 20-foot setback on our property, and our mailbox, and before we got our home, and our driveway is in that 20 foot. But we know that that's right of way. If something has to be done, then we are responsible. And I just don't. My biggest concern is with this issue being that there are pylons close to the road very close to the road, that you could easily hit them. And I think they should be,
I think
And
anything
no matter how they do it.
city property needs to be
Okay.
city property and not
yeah.
used as public, used as
Then
individual
somebody
property.
needs to make a motion or whatever you're gonna do to address this.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that.
Okay. So what you would like to do is to maybe reject this,
Reject it. I would like a
reject
motion
it,
to
and
deny it and, have it revisited as city property.
okay, I think we need to kind of work on that.
So it's ordinance 776, and you would be making
Yeah.
a motion related to ordinance 776.
Okay. Do we have a second?
So I'm not.
State that
it's
again,
not
I'm
clear
sorry, I
what-
was reading the ordinance in a minute.
Ordinance 776, I move to deny and have it sent back to maybe the city manager to address this as public property and how we want to keep that property public property.
Okay. So let's say, go ahead.
Go ahead, then, you're gonna restate.
Yeah, to say, what we are gonna do is, we do not believe that this is a good workable ordinance, and that we would ask the city council to maintain the right-of-way as right-of-way for public use, and clarify that private obstructions and not be allowed in the right-of-way.
So just to be clear, does that mean no grandfathering?
Tell me what the mood is. No grandfathering?
If you deny it, that would be
Yes.
getting rid of everything that was written in it.
That's right, so there would be no grandfather. Is this a reasonable thing?
The motion?
Yeah.
The motion makes sense, yes. That is a valid
Okay.
motion.
Okay.
So one thing I'd like to, I was just rereading the ordinances, and it states here to remain allow certain obstructions to remain temporarily in city right of ways. People can take that and do so many things with it. And I think that there should be no obstructions allowed in the right of way, period.
Isn't that speaking to the public works and utility obstructions, and that's personal property?
I think what we're looking for here is we want to say that the right-of-way must be used for city utilities,
Stormwater, public
stormwater,
access.
public access. You know, if we include those three things, then it kind of clears it up to indicate that we're not including any of these other types of obstructions or something. Okay, have we got that in a place that we can decide on something?
So let me help summarize, make sure that we'll try to have a concise motion, I think, that reflects what you're saying. You want to recommend that the ordinance be denied and that the right-of-ways be used and maintained for city and utility purposes and not for private improvements.
I think that's good.
Nothing should encroach.
That's our recommendation to the council.
Yes. Okay, this is a motion, so now,
Can I ask for one more clarification?
sure.
So you mentioned something about sending this back to you as part of the recommendation
That,
for relook?
that wouldn't be, it would come from here. The council may say when it gets to them that, that after further review, maybe we let the staff handle it. That's totally up to them. I can't speak to what they would do, but you're either yes or no on the ordinance, and you would provide a more definition.
So do we have a motion? Is that
Yes.
the motion?
Yeah.
Second the motion.
Okay. Okay. Roll call?
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Ms. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Lindenberg.
Yes.
Okay, is that, I think that covers what we had on our agenda, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I do have a couple things to add if I can.
Yes, sir.
So just to follow up on some of the requests that you guys made to me at the last P&Z meeting related to variances and being over in the easement area or to the setback, excuse me. I looked into that. I have a meeting once a month with all the city managers and the county administration each month that we meet. And I brought that up as my talking point was, what are other folks doing? What do you do in your city? And a lot of them said, well, it's a bunch of examples made out of one, and maybe it doesn't happen again. I got everything from that to one that I thought was really good, and I ran past the building people this morning, was the possibility of if I have a loan to build my house, and a lender is giving me the money to build my house, and all of a sudden I break a rule and I build my house in the setback, or my deck comes down and my stairs go into where they're not supposed to be. There's a chance that maybe we could cloud the title with some kind of telling the lender there's some kind of issue with this house, which affects the resale. And if I speak out of turn, please tell me, Gina.
Okay.
But that would be one option. The other thing that I brought up was about a fine. And they said the fine would have to be so astronomical that that's not really an option for us. So, I mean, if you tell me $5,000 to go over a foot, I'm going to go over 4 feet.
Yeah.
Like if I'm building a $500,000 house or whatever it is. So, and there's nothing really I could do to the builder. So this was kind of the first step of maybe if they're not paying cash, to do whatever they're doing, that we could go that route. The lender says, no, you either fix that or we're not closing on your house. Give me the final on your house. So that's one option that we were looking into. Talked a little bit about that.
So how would they catch that? When would they catch that?
That's what where we stand now.
Yeah, I mean, they're being caught right now, either, depending on what they are, either in the middle, or at the beginning of the process or the end. But
We would affect the final.
The catch is being made. It's what do you do with it? Because right now, they come here and ask for variance and they get it.
Right, we need to stop that.
I have a question. So, if you're pouring a foundation, that's one thing. But if you're driving cement piles in the ground, I mean, and we caught it, could those be removed? And is that, I guess the thing that worries me about that is that going to disturb the ground so that you can't get enough compaction if you move that piling back a foot? Is that a factor? I'm just
I mean,
asking.
it could be, but we actually had that happen once this year. Is the surveyor actually staked it out in the wrong spot, and they drove the piles, and then we caught it. And the surveyor, the homeowner and surveyor went back and forth, and they finally realized the surveyor made a mistake. They pulled them up, and they moved them.
Okay, so you can do that.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah. And now
I'm just worried about that compaction if you're pulling the piling out.
yeah, it could be a problem. It definitely could be.
It's just
if
like
it-
the last guy who was a foot over, we would just shave off a foot of his house, I mean. But that shouldn't happen again. They have checks in place now
Right.
to catch some of those. Like she said before, they're still going to try to make their debt go over, or get more steps or something like that. But I think we have to hold a line and get those corrected the right way, so that the council doesn't have to make those decisions. If we catch it early on, I mean, we work with them at staff level, maybe not so many of them come your way.
Yeah, well, and the worst one was the house completely flipped.
We'll turn it around.
Yeah, so,
So-
okay, so our options then are that we do something with the lender. I guess I'm confused as to how that would work.
Well, we would plow, can you maybe explain that if you plow a title, how do they do that? If you guys fail them on an inspection because they're not within their setbacks or something, and they couldn't close on their loan possibly?
Well, if we fail the setback inspection, we don't allow them to go any further. So they can't even continue to build until that's resolved.
Okay.
So,
that would stop it.
And now they have
well,
to
that
have
wouldn't
it.
stop it, but that stops the construction. But again, if they have the option to come here and get a variance and they've seen that that's happened 75 times,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're gonna still do
So
that.
that's where we stand. We try to avoid them coming here, and more that we can work with these builders and things to try to keep them from coming to that point.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I came back with, is that at staff level, we would continue to work to stop these from happening and coming towards you guys. And the check that they've added in, and the check and balance that they've added in with that, not a boundary survey, it's a,
Yeah, it's an inspection. We actually physically measured, we're taking.
So check
But a
it.
lot of our contractors do submit a survey because it's easier for them. They don't have to worry about it. They're not full strings and all that.
so we're actively working towards that so that you don't have to review as many of those. So we're doing what we can at
What's
our.
the legal aspects of trying to put a lien on or stop them?
So, you know, when I was hearing the conversation about cloud and title, I'm thinking naturally toward the lien, that's the general way the city would do that. And it's effective, except that that's at the end of the code enforcement process. So if you're trying to act quickly to deal with something that's uncovered and seen, and you're trying to get a quick impact, I'm not sure what document we want to file quickly and what process we want to go through, because you obviously you can incur liability for clouding title on property if there's not.
People are talking about this, like you could call the lender because I guess we have that information. I don't know that we get in the middle of that kind of situation.
Okay, because I hear cloud title, I think recorded public records.
So that was one thing that
It's a new concept. We don't work through it very much.
So I don't believe you're asking for a decision.
No, I'm just kind of updating, just maybe keeping our conversation going. They asked me to do a little research with my peers, and that's what I've come back with so far. I'm still actively looking for other solutions, but I just want to kind of update you.
You know, the other thing is maybe that, what we really need to do is to make it easier for the city council to turn down these variances. When you have a guy that's already built the house, and you would say, well, you're gonna have to shave a foot off the entire front of your house, they're not gonna do that. But if we give them this other option to stop it before we get to that point, maybe then they would have the courage to stand up for the proper.
You just got to keep catching them like that.
So it sounds like once they're caught, the construction stops. Unfortunately, there have been several, but they weren't caught until the construction was basically done.
They just added that step
Yeah.
into the process.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So you now have a setback inspection, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, we had a setback inspection before, but it was at the end of the project.
Okay,
Now
so
we do a setback inspection before the foundation's poured.
So what happens if they violate it? They get to stop work?
Yeah, they can't move forward until they resolve it. The unfortunate part of that is the resolution has been to get variance. But like you all said, most of those were when we did the inspection after.
So if they got to stop work, they just naturally request a variance?
Oh, yes.
Well, and the way that should work, unless there's something very peculiar about the property that just makes the construction not fit. Well, they're so early in the process, they'll change what they've started and make it fit.
A lot of them do that. Gina was telling me a lot of them
Yeah.
early on, the contractors, like, they made a mistake, they fix it, they redesign, whatever they have to do, but sometimes we get to that owner-builder like we had last time.
Well, but not only that, we've had some repeat contractors.
Yes,
I
but
understand.
they're not our local guys.
And a lot of those
Good, but
repeat
we don't-
offenders are gone, I
We
think.
can't control that.
I know.
No, but you could start a list of those repeat guys and make sure that if they come back into the city to work, that you keep an eye on them.
Oh, I'm sure that's going on.
Sure,
Oh, yeah.
that's it. They know who they
I was going
are.
to say, can we have a frequent flyer?
Yes.
So we'll keep working on this progress and kind of update you as things change, or maybe we get a little more fluid in our process. But the other item that you asked me to come back with, and I do apologize, ma'am, I did not get a chance to dig into that chart that you found in the code.
Oh, yes,
I'm still working on that one, but I did look into some of the parcels that we have located in relation to commercial parcels.
Right.
So staff reached out to Bay County and updated some numbers about the city total commercial parcels with buildings. And this is, you got to remember, this spans as January 1st of the current year, so things could have been built throughout this year or changed through this year. But Mexico Beach has a total commercial parcels with building 39. City of Mexico Beach has total commercial parcels vacant 110.
Wow.
So the city of Mexico Beach has a total parcels of 149. So remember, that's January 1, so anything could have been built throughout this year on commercial property as residential. So those numbers are not 100% not accurate at all.
Yeah.
That's the best I could do for that. And then I have a list of all the occupational licenses, and there's 52 businesses that are registered here that we have. So, we're starting to gather some items here. We have some of that information located on our map to where some of these locations, these parcels are that are vacant. So you kind of asked me for some stats, and that's what I got.
So of the 110, some of those are all commercial properties that could be converted to residential?
Well,
Or you're not
Yeah.
sure of that?
No, here's the problem, is that it says in our regulations that commercial property can be converted into,
So we don't have any true commercial zones.
Well, we have a business
We do.
district,
We
and
do.
townhomes and
But-
things like that. I don't know if there's something maybe you want to add to.
Like, we changed the to a townhome district, can we change things or request a change to commercial, just be commercial?
Yeah, I mean,
In
we
certain
can
areas?
request that a land development code change be made to remove
the ability
the
to.
ability. Right.
We
Because
tried
the-
that.
Yeah.
We tried that in the last version of the LDR, which was finished in 2019. And the P&Z board, we had multiple discussions. And the P&Z board's recommendation, if I'm not mistaken, was to make commercial just commercial, and the council shot it down.
I think that's generally correct. We have some different council members and different P and Z board members, but there was an interest from the P and Z board at the time to make no residential.
And keep it like that.
So
And this
again,
is also very important because 2 weeks ago, when I was talking to Ike Godwin, who owns Gulf Foods, and I asked him, why was it listed? Gulf Foods, the property was listed. And he said, oh, that's a mistake, I'll take it off. So it appears he has taken it off. I can't find it listed anymore, but that brings it to an immediate nature because he had told me in that conversation that he had already had multiple developers asking how many townhomes could fit on Gulf Foods property. So this is of an immediate need to settle it because this is not the only property that could be done this way.
Well, and again,
Why would you make a commercial property to be residential?
It's quicker to sell.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're gonna lose. It's a losing battle for us. I mean, it's a losing battle for this town if we don't turn our commercial to just commercial.
But here's the thing that is repeatedly said. It's so much easier to sell it as residential. It's so much easier to sell the houses. But if you think about it, only 3 individuals make money when you take commercial and put it to residential. The person who's selling the property, the developer who's buying it to put houses on it, and the real estate agent who gets a quicker sale than if it is commercial property.
It doesn't
But the
benefit
rest
us.
of the town does not benefit in any way by that happening.
So maybe you can work with, you can put that back in our court if you want us to look into something to bring back to you, or if you think it's something that you'd like to see done. I think that if I get direction, we don't have to beat the horse up. You can tell me if you'd like to see something come back. I can work with the legal team to bring back something. If you want to make a suggestion to the council.
I go back to what I said in the last meeting, which is we need to check out that compatibility table and look at and compare where these properties are and whether or not they would be compatible to be converted into residential. Because that already exists. We don't have to fight that fight. It's in there. We just need to review that table and look at it and compare how many times that would save us from that situation.
I understand, yes, ma'am. I can work on that.
Okay.
I just want to keep the conversation going. That's why I
Yeah.
continue to follow. I didn't have the stats last month to pass to you, but
Sure.
that whole process.
That's
Okay.
fine. And I understand that this has been an ongoing battle. I've heard it, and heard it. So, and we need to find a way that we can address it in a way that's palatable for the citizens and our commercial people, and that the city council is going to be able to run with, okay?
Yes, ma'am. We'll continue to address it.
Okay,
Madam Chair, that's all I have.
okay.
I have one thing I'd like to bring up, if we could possibly, any and all public meetings for planning and zoning, if we could be on an email list and be notified of them, that would be fantastic, not just our regular monthly meeting. I guess something comes up between,
Like when something's noticed,
a
you mean?
public notice. I noticed one that was in October and, unfortunately didn't make that meeting because I didn't know about it, so.
That's an excellent
If
that's
we
an
could-
excellent suggestion. We'll make sure that we get you guys included on the list when we have those kind of public notices go out, like when we notice the adjacent residents and things like that. So,
That would be
thank you very much.
fantastic.
Appreciate it.
So I don't have to drive around the corner.
Look for the new sign.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. And Ms. Clerk,
Does anyone else have anything new business or?
well, welcome to the meeting.
Yes, yes. Thank you for coming, or we wouldn't have to.
He has a lot of years of military experience, actually worked in local government, did a lot of grant writing and stuff, so we're excited to have him and his expertise.
Not that I like
He's trying to be retired now.
I
Okay,
got something I need to say.
yes.
I just want to let you guys know I'm going to be parting ways from the building department at the end of the month. So this is my last planning and zoning meeting, and I appreciate you guys putting up with me.
She has a wealth of knowledge, that's for sure.
I think all of us, and I wish the whole group were here, because you've been invaluable to what we've been through the past 3 years.
Thank you.
And you have a wealth of knowledge that we really need, and so we hate to see you go. But we appreciate your.
You never know what's going to work out. So there's always some
Yeah, you
options.
never know.
You never know what's going to work out, but she has really something too. So.
That's true.
But they did promise me from EPCI that they would have a person work alongside her for the next couple of weeks as she's here or as needed. Bo mentioned that to me today. He was working so that we can some transfer of knowledge too in the meantime. But she's been, thank you very much. It's not only been for months, but thank you.
Well, and like I said, as the acting chair here, I want to say, you have been you've made a great contribution to this group, and I think we all appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Got a lot of new business. Okay, if that's the case, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Did you get the second? All right, all in favor?